Last year, I traveled to the high Arctic, and it was the trip of a lifetime. Breathtaking beauty, amazing animals, and extreme environment. In addition to those Kodak moments, I also witnessed the impact of climate change for myself. In the last 2 years have seen the biggest melt of Arctic sea ice on record. There's a lot of debate about climate change, and I'll admit, say 20 years ago, there were a few pretty good arguments against it. But there's also a lot of false propaganda out there that is just plain wrong. And I'm going to bust those climate myths one by one. Myth number one, 17,000 plus scientists claim that global warming is a hoax. To bust this myth, I need to begin with some background. In 1998, the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine sent out thousands of letters and had asked the recipients to sign a petition that, in essence, called climate change a hoax, and 17,000 plus people did. So just how legit is this paper? What are the claims based on? And what kind of scientific proof do they offer to back up their assertions? The paper looked like it was from a famous science journal, so much so that the nation's top science organization, the National Academies, alerted its members that this was not from them and that they wholeheartedly disagreed with it. Dr. John Christie is a climate scientist at UA Huntsville. He is one of the few real climate scientists who has doubts about some of the conclusions of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Did he sign this petition?
I did not sign the Oregon petition.
Why not?
I'm often called on to testify before Congress or in federal court cases as an expert witness on climate. And it turns out that often those that want to turn the discussion away from real science will try to detract by saying, are you a signer of a certain petition here or there? That means you're associated with this person who likely has no credentials in climate and so on.
So what is the Oregon Institute of Science? Well, it's actually a farm near Cave Springs, Oregon, and it's run by a chemist named Arthur Robinson. He has no published climate papers in peer review, and the Institute has no students. The website does list 8 faculty members. 2 faculty members are relatives of Robinson. 2 others do very few lectures, and with good reason. They're dead. The Institute does publish a book called Nuclear War Survival Skills. So who are the 17,000 plus scientists that signed this petition? What credentials do they have, and what qualifies them to declare that climate change is a hoax? I did some digging. 485 signatures are people from Alabama. At least 37 of them are medical doctors or veterinarians. A sample of 20 more names, and none of them have anything published in a science journal on climate. Scientific American magazine sampled 30 names of PhDs. Their researchers could only find 26 of them. 11 said they wouldn't sign the paper again, and only 1 was an active climate researcher. An even closer look reveals more convincing evidence that this petition is bogus. Let's see. Perry Mason looks suspicious. Turns out, though, he's a real person, but he's not a climate scientist. He's a chemist. And Dr. Jerry Hallowell. Well, according to my daughter, she's a Spice Girl. I guess you could say Ginger Spice is a wannabe scientist.
I'll tell you what I want to live in.
I'll take my daughter's word for it that Mrs. Hallowell knows little about climate science. Need even more proof? We went to a real expert. Dr. Kim Cobb is a real climate scientist with Georgia Tech.
I don't know a single person personally who believes that anthropogenic global warming is not happening right now. I'm aware of a handful of people that I have seen on television, and they get a lot of media play repeatedly, who do not hold to that statement. But nobody that I know personally, and that of course amounts to about hundreds or so that I know personally, and no, not one of those people believes that.
The argument that scientists are split about climate change just doesn't hold water. Dr. Naomi Oreskes of the University of California, San Diego published related research in Science magazine in 2004. I interviewed her by satellite.
We had done a study of the scientific literature to try to assess what the state of scientific play was on the question of the reality of global warming. And we found when we did the analysis that not one single paper in the refereed scientific literature published for the previous 10 years had disagreed with the view that there was global warming going on and it was caused mainly by human activities.
Almost every major science organization on the planet has endorsed the IPCC reports on climate change. I'd say we can proclaim this climate change myth busted.
I'll tell you what I want.